This presentation here, with myself, Griffin, and Haka says, is the cosmic light bulb, titled by Eric, and this is the entire presentation slide. So this is one of John Bedini's tubes he used in the Rife experiments, and the term cosmic. Who has not heard the term cosmic induction generator? Just one person? Okay. So the term cosmic induction generator, Eric was inspired by Wilhelm Reich's book, Cosmic Superimposition, and it deals with these formative creative forces in nature, and to be able to imprint or make visible some of these cosmic life force patterns into a plasma bulb. A lot of this is related back to Eric's relationship with Philo Farnsworth, the inventor of the television Sun, who his father, who invented the television, had a Farnsworth fuser, which was some type of fusion system that had, supposedly 10,000 watts plus of a sustained reaction for almost no input, basically a star in a jar. And he was working with some defense company, and the whole thing got squashed. Philo Farnsworth's son had this bulb, I think around Bolinas, California, or wherever Eric was living in Philo Farnsworth's backyard with Philo Farnsworth's wife. Was his son's name is Philo also, so it's I'll just say Junior. And then his mom had basically adopted Eric, and Philo Farnsworth Jr. was the one who suggested to Eric that if he doesn't have a lab and doesn't have a bench to do his experiments, that he should start doing the math and at least, do that. And that's where Eric, I guess, literally eating out of garbage cans, sitting on park benches, and drawing his notes. And little by little, this eventually became, I believe, some of the early writings, possibly in Borderlands. I'm not as, too familiar with the exact history of that, but that's really kind of along the lines. Eric and Philo were one night we're one-upping each other on who had the best story about whatever, and who knew more about the different tubes and what they did and their specs and all this kind of stuff. And then Philo goes and grabs one particular bulb that had some interesting characteristics to it, and he said, okay, now tell me about this, which he thought Eric would never have a clue. And Eric basically explained the type of process that was going on in this bulb, blew his mind, and the rest is history. So over the years, Eric has been doing a lot of these type of experiments. Long time ago, Peter actually witnessed these back in 80s, 90s, and back in 86, about 85. And last year at the Energy Science and Technology Conference at the Fairgrounds out in Coeur d'Alene, Eric and I co-presented on the borderlands of Nikola Tesla's resonant transformer, I believe is the title of that presentation. I kind of went into some of the early history. Eric went into a lot of the technical stuff. And then we didn't have time to finish these two racks, which we wanted to do at a lot higher power and in a really refined way. And what we did was a few experiments and demos with this 1940 Collins transmitter. That, Eric said, might have been like a prototype or some strange civilian unit. Doesn't really match up with a lot of the other Collins. This sat out in the Arizona desert for about 25 years. Rained on, dust, everything else. I traded Eric one big unit that he wanted for this, and Eric was up here, and Jeff and Eric got it cleaned up. Eric got it working, and that's what we used for some of the demonstrations that we did with these coil pairs right here. These coil pairs right here are the potential coils. Under the bench, you see some with the big copper wire. Those are the current coils. Current coil and the potential coil is one single coil. It's not a primary and a secondary. There is no primary and secondary in a system. The current coil and potential coil is one coil. The current lies in the current coil, the potential is in the potential coil, and together it just happened to be missing the exact band that we needed for these two coils to work together as one. So we can do one or the other. And so these potential coils, Griffin and Haka says, can go more into the details of all the specs and what's going on the technical level. We're going to do a few basic little experiments with some of the plasma bulbs. Griffin has made some of his own bulbs
Power, well, when we do increase the power,
You're gonna play some music in that too?
No.
that
it's
the
not gonna
intensity
make a
goes from a
difference.
yellow
This is
to almost a
easy.
whitish stage.
It's only a couple hundred.
Let's see, don't put that blast shield up.
It shouldn't do anything. It's mainly when it contains imposed gases that those are going to want to expand outwards.
Well,
Well, I mean, just in case.
300 watts.
if we're really going up,
Well, this
310.
is going to let the frequency down a bit because it's
at least I
acrylic.
tried.
Just under 300.
For the general safety, well, you guys are in the splash zone.
I don't know if you can hear the buzz coming from the speakers.
But we could see, even through the glass, the plexiglass pane, that the bulb is reaching a almost whitish stage, which Tesla noted, which would occur, but not necessarily in this mode of operation or in these multiple stages. So of course, that's where we will demonstrate later that what he was observing must be a mixture of remaining gases found within his
Okay,
pump.
so I guess you can remove that if you're that confident.
It's only about 25 right now. I'm trying to get it up higher.
We have 25 watts input, although we have probably a decent potential allocated on the rings of the coil, maybe in excess of a couple hundred volts, which is able to illuminate the plasma and special matter inside this bulb.
Griffin has answered.
It probably has to do somewhat with.
Why one is,
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, whose bulbs were these?
John's
200.
John, okay,
Fanatron bulbs?
okay.
Tubes?
240? Do we want to do anything more?
Fanatron bulb?
I think that's, yeah, let's just keep.
Okay, that's so it went from blue to orangish?
Yeah, that seems more,
It's about 240, 230. I'll just leave it at that.
so if we use our spectroscope. Okay, we've got a strong line. It looks like a mix of sodium and possibly a minute mixture of neon. Okay, let's move the base. Lift it up. Okay.
Oh, that's
There we
better.
go. Oh, there we go. We have ignition.
Found the sweet spot.
So I haven't had enough power with the Collins to see this. All I've seen was the orange, that was in a Borderlands video.
Yeah, there's a very strong line on around 580 nanometers, so that is pretty quintessential of silica.
Oh, yeah.
This one has a vacuum, right? You can tell.
It seems to be more of a chlorine because the vacuum seems to be.
There we go.
Well, actually,
No, I think that one is a vacuum that we baked for a little bit between the
seems to be
tubes. And
slight. Yeah, that's a vacuum, all right.
glass down at the base is hot. Oh, it has to go through this. Wait, can
Yeah, transformer's still cool, so that's good.
do that? I gotta put this through. Here, hold on a second. That's not long enough.
Should I disconnect this?
Let's see, you have an alligator clip there?
Yeah.
And then lengthen it.
What was that? If it experiences too much pressure, too much temperature. Well, and then just in the field of glass blowing in general, that borosilicate is usually easier to work with because you don't have to worry about it killing itself.
Let me pull that stretch.
And this is just because the silica atoms are heating up and being released into this soup.
Should I move it over to get the center
We
taped
could
off
probably
to see
push
what it looks like?
We could take it out just a tiny bit.
Let's see if it changes.
Okay, the inner part is lit up.
And that was the experiment that I was doing where you're running the coils by themselves. They'll suck up energy and it goes somewhere.
Lower. Okay, let's see what happens.
Okay.
Vacuum.
Yeah, that's a vacuum. That's a
Oh, that's
longer worked
That's
vacuum.
beautiful. Let me turn it up. I can even touch it.
Superheated silicon.
We were doing that one at the old shop, so it has a number of hours.
This is the
on it.
one with the nitrogen mixture on the inside.
Oh, is it?
The pinkish purple.
Okay, for a second.
If we pull it out, then we could
I
get
see
that.
from here it looks like a disc, and then,
There we go. Nitrogen. Because there was a time where we were able to get the power just right to get about 200 watts, where the whole thing went completely white. It almost looked like a phosphor lamp.
which bulb did you have that had this spiraling in the middle?
That was the carbon bunsen lamp. That's the one that we'll try later on the fractal discharge
Okay.
setup.
And then in between here, it's this,
Oh, there we go.
I
So
saw
I-
a change here.
I haven't seen that color before,
That looks about right for Krypton.
is it? I've had it pure white.
Really?
But it made that same formation.
No, I had it where it was indistinguishable from the little
Oh.
toy bulb. So I'll have to bring
A
it.
little bit.
Seems like the limit is right there. Is the modulation too high?
Yeah, I don't want to slam that in too high. Let's see. God,
Well, be careful. Oh. There we go.
okay.